Outlander fans, guess what? We are back once again for our Gold Derby weekly recaps for our favorite show, the best show on TV around the world, Outlander season 6. It's been 732 days or something since Outlander left our TV screens when season 5 concluded on really devastating terms. But don't worry, we're back now, everybody, and we're very excited to talk about season 6. I'm Rob Lucuria. This is Paula Sullivan Lucuria. We are the Outlander fans at Gold Derby, and we're just super thrilled to be back with you all, and we hope you enjoy our recaps going forward. So let's talk about episode 1 that's just aired. I'm sure most of you are just beside yourselves. There's so much to unpack. It's called Echoes. And just to be clear, it was written by the one and only Matthew B. Roberts, and it was directed by Kate Cheeseman. So where do we begin? Well, first of all, that was a really good recap, just to remind us about what had happened in the previous seasons, particularly the end of season 5. It really reminded me of how amazing that season was and sets us up for what we are going to look forward to for season 6. So we open with Jamie at Ardsmuir Prison in 1753, I think. And that's a flashback. Do you want to tell us maybe about why do you think the series decided to, or the producers decided to open the series at Ardsmuir?
Well, because Ardsmuir sets up the basis of a relationship between Jamie and Tom Christie, and possibly why there is so much tension between the two of them. But I actually I really liked that, because you had a whole recap of the previous seasons, like you mentioned. I've not seen that in a pilot episode of the episode 1 of any season since. So it's actually been, for me, it was great to go, oh, that's right, that's what happened. As much as I watched this show over and over again, we do so much, I forgot. So it was actually great to see that, and it was great to see the recap and the flashback, and have everything as a setup to what's going to now happen on Fraser's Ridge. That's a mouthful.
Jeez. Because I have to admit, I was a little confused. I was like, oh, what's happening? I must have just missed the title card. I don't know.
If you're not looking for it, you miss it, because it was very quick. And then all of a sudden I saw that looks like Scotland. I mean, I know it's filmed in Scotland, so don't everybody get on top of me. But it didn't look like what is perceived to be North Carolina. And so I was like, okay, that looks a bit wrong. They're all dirty. They all look miserable. And it was actually kind of nice. You sort of see a little bit more of what happened at Ardsmuir. And it just sets this up for the whole season.
So we get that. I think a lot of that was to reestablish the very complicated relationship between Tom Christie and obviously Jamie. And it also reminds us, when we get that Braveheart light scene between the Protestants and the Catholics, where they charge each other, how crazy it was that there was such a deep divide between Protestants and Catholics, and how that divide remains in other ways now. So we see that between people who are on the left wing of politics and the right wing of politics. We see that between religions. So it was a really interesting way to start the season, and it made me think we're going to get a lot of people who are pushing back against Jamie in particular, and even Claire in the Carolinas at Fraser's Ridge. So that was really interesting. And I didn't know much about Ardsmuir, because it's been such a long time. A lot of the Outlander canon has kind of escaped my brain.
It does. As much, like I said, as much as we love it, I do watch it over and over again. And like I've said, I would reread these books, but I usually read a Kindle, but I actually purchased the book that this season's going to be based off, which is called A Breath of Snow and Ashes. This is the size of it.
Oh my God.
So I can't get through all of that very quickly. So I'm sort of flicking through this as we go through, because obviously we're trying to find parallels and where it sort of deviates from the book. So this is the size of it. So, and I've sort of flicked up to about there where my bookmark is.
Yeah.
So, and there's no sort of flashback to Ardmore in that section. So we've already done some work, but, and like, look, the font's even quite small. So takes a while to get through these books.
That's a weapon.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
But it.
So let's move on. So I also really liked the tartan scene. Jamie does his whole "I'm Spartacus" kind of.
That was really sweet.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, I don't get overly emotional at most shows, but that sort of made me go, oh. And then when the English officer said this is outlawed, I'm like, oh, that's right. Oh.
Yeah.
So, and Jamie did his whole "I am Spartacus" move and said it was his, and which I thought was really beautiful to save I think it was the older gentleman, I forget his name, I'm so sorry, because there was a lot of info to take in this episode, that character's name sort of just went in one ear and out the other, but that was really sweet of Jamie doing that. And so in that particular scene, the other thing I also noticed, I've become quite attuned to noticing the colors that's in a scene. So you've got this sort of dark, wet, clearly wet landscape. The prisoners are dressed in black, dark brown because they're absolutely filthy from head to toe. Then you've got the English officers who are in these bright red uniforms, which is normal for the period. But then you have this one little tiny scrap of tartan, and it's clearly not Fraser tartan, because we do see that later on. But it's this red tartan, and even though it's filthy, the color is still quite bright, and it sort of made the connection that they still have hope, that they still have ties to their history and their traditions in tartan, which was now outlawed. So yeah.
Okay, so then we get his conversion, I suppose, to Freemasonry, and which is good, interesting stuff, because we'll probably touch on that later on as the season progresses. So then we get the opening credits, and I liked it. You didn't like it, and I just wondered who's singing this. It's more grandiose. It's not so breathless.
No, and
seems a bit more like. Yeah, interesting. I thought it was really good.
Look, now that I've heard it a couple of times, it's growing on me. It's not very. I sort of felt like last season was very not like religious, like a bit churchy, like what you would hear in a church, or a place of worship. Let's keep it general. But this one, it was, for the first time in 6 seasons, it's a guy singing, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm sure the diehard fans out there would have noticed from the minute he started singing that it was no longer that a lass is gone, it's a lad that's gone, which is the original song. Because, like, I don't know if you've heard, but the original song, I think it's called a song, is A Lad Is Gone. The song's actually about Bonnie Prince Charlie. And so the whole time it's been A Lass Is Gone, which I remember reading years ago that the lass being gone is Claire. So, which made me think, we've already gone past the Bonnie Prince Charlie story. So who's this lad that's now gone? Who could be the lad that goes or disappears? And then a female singer comes in, and then it goes back to lass. Do not make me sing it.
Oh, I definitely won't make you sing it.
No one wants to hear
Nobody
that.
needs that in their lives. But
No.
I just want to say that they seem to change or adapt the opening credits depending on the theme for the season. So we had like a Jamaican infused season. I think that
Yes.
was season 3, 4.
And then there was don't forget there was French
There was a
for
French
season
one for
2.
season 2. Last season was really, I think last season, season 5, was the most emotionally resonant for me. It just felt really angelic and and peaceful, and which was so jarring because the season ended up being so confronting. This season has the man singing and the woman singing. I'm going to try to find out who the singers are. If anybody knows, please
let
comment,
us know.
tweet us, let us know, because I just like it how it's both man and woman singing. To me, that means this season's really about the bond between Jamie and Claire more than ever.
Yeah, that they're working together.
Yes,
that you can't have one. Yeah, they're working together on the ridge, and you can't have one without the other. Because, and like, no spoilers, but I'm actually reading the very last novel, Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone. I'm only about halfway through it. And it just, as these books go on, it just really shows that Jamie and Claire, like, we know it's already there, but their relationship and their partnership is just so cemented, even more so. And maybe that's what they're getting at with this song. I don't know. But what I want to know is, and can anyone let us know in the comments below, what is that language in the last line or the last
We've
2
been debating
lines?
this. Is it Native American? Is it Gaelic? I just don't know. I'm not a linguist. You're not a linguist. No. Someone tell us. Okay, we've got to start wrapping up, but I did want to say one more thing. The season 5 ended with Claire's very confronting, upsetting rape and assault and rescue. Okay. I reckon any other show, or most shows that don't have the level of sophistication that Outlander has, would have made this show open on her PTSD, her trauma. They would have made Katrina Balfe be very like over the top about it. Instead, we focus on Jamie. Tom Christie, we get the contextualization about why he's at the ridge. And because Claire at this point in time is not the focal point yet, because she's fine. She's okay. I like that. I find that very honest. That is so common for women, particularly who have gone through that kind of trauma, to shut it down, and because they've got to rise up, because they've got children, husbands, a house, whatever.
We've got things to do.
You got things to do,
We've
and
got
you don't have
things.
time. You don't have time to wallow, and she doesn't. But we know that Claire is going to suffer deeply this season. And of course, the episode ends with her putting herself to sleep to numb the pain and the nightmares with ether. And we know that this season is going to really explore that.
Yeah.
Again, a very honest, truthful way to portray trauma.
Yeah, it is. And if I remember correctly, I actually mentioned it reminded me of, and I'm sorry if anyone didn't watch this movie, but it reminded me of a little scene from the Cider House Rules with the older actor doing the same thing, Michael Caine, numbing his pain by putting himself to sleep with ether. Now, I have looked here. That is not here. If it is, it's probably a little bit further down in this bit I've not skimmed through yet. But if it is, can someone let me know the page number? Let me know, and I'll go back and I'll read it, and we'll address it in the next video. But so far, it's not in there, and this sounds horrible, but I'm glad it is. I'm glad it's not in here. I'm glad it's in there, because you're right. We're addressing the pain and the suffering, and and don't forget, Marcelly was also involved in all of that. How does this affect her? I want to see how it doesn't just affect Jamie and Claire now. If you remember young Ian, or Ian now, he goes and helps rescue Claire. I think Fergus is involved. Marcelly, I think the season opens up and she's clearly pregnant. So she was pregnant at the end of last season. So she got whacked. So how is she coping and all of this? And I'm like, just talking about it now is giving me goosebumps, really.
I think so. That's what this season is going to explore, how this event series of events has changed them all. And we
affects
have
their
to,
decisions in the future.
yeah, it really will. If it impacts all of them, Fergus, Ian, Jamie, all of them. Here's the thing, though. We know that there has been criticism in the past of this show about how it constantly goes back to this trope of characters being raped and sexually assaulted. I want to put that aside. I don't want to get into that argument at the moment.
Yeah.
I just want to focus on season 1 ending with Jamie being brutally assaulted by Jack, and then season 5 ending with Claire being brutally assaulted by the awful Brown brothers. Every time I say Brown brothers, I think about the wine, because that's a wine label in Australia. That's a whole other video. But we know how much that impacted the relationship between Jamie and Claire.
Back
Jamie was so broken and humbled, changed, but he has become the rock of this show. He is so brave and courageous. And now Claire is going through a similar thing, but she is surprisingly even more stoic than Jamie was. Now, that might be controversial, but I believe that's how Katrina is playing her and how she's been.
That's how I saw it too. I agree.
Doesn't make him weak. Doesn't make Jamie weak at all. But I'm really, really interested to see how that all plays out this season.
Yeah, I do too. And now, not only in season 6, Jamie is essentially, for want of a better phrase, the head of his own clan. He takes care of all those people who live on the ridge. You know, he's a grandfather now. I mean, so is Claire, but you know, they've got kids, grandkids, daughters-in-law, sons-in-law. He
sets the rules for the ridge. Like he lays down the law for the ridge. He tells Tom Christie what and what not to do. And Jamie's come a long way. And look, to finish up the video, I've said it once, I'll say it again. The acting on this show is so impressive to me. They don't get enough credit. Katrina Balfe in particular, she is so wonderful, as we've just seen her in Belfast.
I know.
Sam Heughan is phenomenal as Jamie. He doesn't have to chew the scenery. There's just something about him. I think he's just got such a future. When this show ends one day, I think Sam Heughan's going to be one of the biggest stars on the planet.
Just that look. He doesn't have. There was a bit, and like he was talking, or someone was talking, and he conveyed like what would be described as Jamie's emotion in the book. He did it in a look of his eye, and I wasn't watching anybody else in that scene. I was watching what Sam Heughan was doing with his facial features, and I'm like, okay, so Jamie's irritated, and he didn't have to say a word. Not many people can do that, like can evoke emotion out of a viewer by a squint.
And on that note, I'm going to squint myself silly and tell you all to please stick with us. You're not going to find better coverage of Outlander than Gold Derby, quite frankly. And because we are passionate about the show, you know that, we know that, we all understand that. So we'll be back every week to talk about Outlander. I'm also going to invite some people that I really admire and respect on Twitter that I think are super fans. I'm going to invite some of you to join our show from time to time to chat about what Outlander means to you. If that's something that you're really, really keen on, please send me a direct message on Twitter, and we can't have everybody, but it's certainly something that we would like.
We'll do our best,
because Outlander, more than any other show that I've ever seen, and I've been covering this stuff for 20 years. This is about the fans, this show, and the cast and crew know that. And so we are only a very tiny part of the Outlander fandom, but we want to bring some people in and kind of express to the Outlander community how important the fan base is. Anyway, got to go. Nice to see you all again. We're back, everybody. It's so exciting. Be back next week for episode 2. See you later.